You walk through the front door to a calm house. Your dog is waiting, maybe a little excited to see you. Then you see the sofa cushion on the floor and the corner of the rug that wasn't like that this morning. It is easy to look at that mess and assume your dog was bored or getting into mischief because you weren't there to stop them. You are entirely absent when the behavior actually occurs. But behavioral researchers have spent decades doing what most owners haven't. They leave a camera running. When researchers at the University of Geneva reviewed hidden camera footage, they didn't see misbehavior. They saw symptoms of immediate physiological panic. Owners draw conclusions about separation anxiety without direct observational data of what happens in that isolated vacuum. To understand the problem, we have to look at what Dr. Harrison and Dr. Clark called backward chaining. Through simple repetition, dogs learn to link your entire morning routine to the isolation that follows. You check your phone, put on your shoes, and grab your keys. By the time you reach for the doorknob, your dog's nervous system is already misfiring. They are following you from room to room, their heart rate climbing before the door even clicks shut. For a dog struggling with this, the trauma of departure begins the moment you start preparing to leave. Once you are gone, the reaction follows a fast chronological pattern. On average, the whining and barking starts just 3 minutes and 15 seconds after departure. By minute 7, the destruction of physical objects begins. Eventually, that first frantic phase subsides. The barking stops, and the scratching ends. If you came home to this quiet, you would assume the dog had settled down. While the house is quiet, the internal reality is different. This timeline tracks 4 hours alone. Every 23 to 28 minutes, there is a sharp spike in heart rate. The quiet gaps between these spikes represent cyclical, anticipatory windups before the next wave of distress. An externally quiet house often masks a continuous cycle of invisible, internal panic. In the 1960s, Dr. Arthur Vance explored learned helplessness, the concept that a brain under prolonged, inescapable stress eventually defaults to total passivity. The dog stops barking because it has stopped believing its behavior can change the outcome. Standard interventions, like puzzle toys or pheromone diffusers, fail to address this deeply rooted physiological burnout. Once a dog finishes the food in a toy, they register the owner's absence and the cycle of stress restarts. Data from Wellington Agricultural College challenges the popular advice to get a second dog. Their research showed that male dogs in multi-dog households actually vocalized more when left alone than single dogs. This distress is tied to the specific absence of your unique nervous system rather than a general lack of company. At 5 p.m., the cycle continues. A Boston Veterinary Institute study revealed that owners who come home and respond with visible anger or frustration multiply the likelihood of separation-related behaviors by 6. The dog links their profound panic directly to your arrival. This creates a loop where your return becomes something to brace for, which in turn makes your departure more terrifying. This graph shows synchronization between dog-owner pairs. Chronic cortisol levels move in tandem. The owner's stress mathematically predicts the dog's. A dog with an elevated stress baseline starts separation from a deficit, carrying the biological weight of their owner's stress into every isolated hour. Separation anxiety is a shared physiological loop between two different species. Graduated exposure is the only method supported by consistent evidence. It relies on micro-interactions, like touching the doorknob without leaving, to prevent the nervous system from ever reaching a spike. In clinical trials, combining behavior modification with fluoxetine produced a 73% improvement compared to 51% with behavior modification alone. This medication provides the brain with the chemical elasticity required to absorb new, non-threatening routines. There is a distinct tipping point at 40 minutes. Once a dog can tolerate 40 minutes of absence without distress, they update their cognitive bias from a pessimistic state to a neutral understanding that the owner will return. Resolving this panic requires shifting the biological energy you bring when you are together